Hi. I want to talk to you about God as a father, but more specifically about the father heart of God. And I know for so many of us, myself included, understanding God as a father is a really hard thing. You see, my father wasn't around. He went and he left our family when I was very young. And so understanding the concept of a father in general has been very, very difficult for me over the course of my lifetime. And it has taken me a very long time to understand what a good father looks like, but also God as a father. It was really easy for me to understand God as this all-powerful being, creator of the universe, kind of distant, maybe even punitive or mean, um, or disciplining. I could understand all of that. I really just couldn't understand this concept of a loving daddy, right? And maybe you are in that boat. And so if that is you, I just want you to know that I understand. You are not alone, and there is a lot of grace there. But I also want to share how that changed for me and how maybe it can change for you. And it started many, many years ago, but there's this verse I want to share with you that has just really kind of rocked my understanding of God as a father. And so before I read that to you, I want to talk about in the Old Testament, God was only referred to as a father 15 times. Not 50, not 500, 15. And most of the time, I would say pretty much all but 3 times, those references were for him as a father of like the nation of Israel. But then we get to the New Testament, and Jesus in the Gospels alone, where he's talking about the Father, he introduces God as Father. And he does that over 360 times. Wow. I mean, 15 to 360 plus. And so I want to read you one of the times that God mentions Father, and it's actually him talking, and it's in Jeremiah 3, and it's verses, and we'll just do verse 19. He says this: I myself said, how gladly would I treat you like sons and give you a desirable land, the most beautiful inheritance of any nation. I thought you would call me Father and not turn away from following me. Did you catch that? I thought you would call me Father. I understand, I guess, rejection and abandonment. When I read this verse, it showed me the tender heart of God in almost this abandoned kind of way. And it's like him saying, I thought you would call me daddy. Did you see what all I did? I would do anything you asked for me. I created this universe and this earth. I gave you good food. I gave you miracle after miracle. I saved you. I protected you. I provided for all of your needs. I thought you would call me dad. And yet you rejected me. And I relate to that. I relate to the abandonment of a father, but I relate to the abandonment of the father and his children. And we see this when Jesus tells us the story of the parable of the son, the lost son, right? Jesus tells a story about really the father's heart. And he talks about how the son, this father has 2 sons actually. And one of them comes to him and he demands for his inheritance early. He says, give me my inheritance and I want to go do my own thing. And boy, does that sound like humanity, right? God, I just want you to give me whatever I want, and I'm going to go do my own thing. I'm not going to follow you. I'm not going to listen to you. I don't want what you have for me. Like, just give me what I want, and I'm going to go. And the father, you know what he does? He says yes. He says yes, and he gives the son his inheritance early. That's like the son saying to the father, I wish you were dead. I just want the money. But the father, he gives him his inheritance, and the son, he leaves. And he goes and he squanders the inheritance. He basically falls on his face. He is humbled, and he decides he's going to go back to the father. And then he goes back to the father, and the father, he's out on his property, and he sees him far away, and he recognizes him. And he doesn't go and turn his back and like shut the door and say, oh, you deserved all this, and none of that. No, he drops everything that he has, and he runs to his son. He embraces him. He hugs him. He kisses him. He says, oh, I'm so happy you're back. Oh, I'm so happy you came home. And he says, but I sinned against you. I did you wrong. I treated you poorly. I squandered all of the money. And the father says, I don't care. I just wanted you. I just wanted you. I just wanted your heart. And so he throws him this party. And the story continues, but you guys, this is what God has done for us. We have gone and we have rejected and abandoned him. We have said, I want to do things my own way. And the father says, but I thought you would call me father. I thought you would want me as your dad. And so he sends Jesus to show us how to call him Abba, which means daddy. He shows us, Jesus is 12 years old when he introduces God as Father. He's exploring Jerusalem with his parents. He's visiting the temple, and they leave and they realize he's not with their party. And so they go back. He had been in the temple for 3 days. And he said, well, kind of surprised, like, well, didn't you know I'd be about my father's house? And they were confused because, you see, they only knew God as this all-powerful, holy, reverent God. They wouldn't even say his name, let alone call him Father. And here is Jesus saying, no, you don't understand. This God, he's not far, he's not distant. He created all of this for us. He sent me to save you. He sent me because he loves you. He wants to be reconciled with you. He's calling you back to me, and he wants your heart. And he's revealing the heart of the Father. And so I think it's really hard for us as Christians to go forward in our walk with God, to understand how to have faith, to understand the miraculous, to understand the provision or the mission, even if we don't understand the heart of the Father and his desire for reconciliation with us, his desire to be called Dad. And so I don't know where you're at, and I don't know your past, but I can tell you, as somebody that has understood abandonment, someone that has understood rejection, as someone who loved God with her hands and kept him arm's length, I can relate. But I want to invite you today to see God as your daddy, a good dad who loves you, would do anything for you, who is working everything out for your good. He's a good dad, and he's faithful, and he is wanting to be reconciled with you every day. He wants to do this life with you. And so he sent his son to die for you. He sent his spirit to live in you. He is trying to be a good dad to you. And the question for you to answer is, will you let him? Will you stop viewing him as punitive, mean, distant, far off? And will you invite him to be your good daddy? And so I want you, if this is something that you struggle with, I want to encourage you to ask him to reveal his heart as a father to you. Thanks.